Today we're going to go over some basic items to have on hand for RV maintenance. Now, we put a video out a while back talking about different tools that you're going to want. Obviously, when it comes to maintenance, things like electrical work, placing silicone, things like that, you're going to need some tools. So if you haven't seen this video, or that video rather, after this one, I would make sure you take a look at that one. But let's kind of start on this side of the table. We'll work our way down, just talking a little bit about some exterior maintenance, because obviously UV is going to cause some damage. We want to make sure that we are protecting the outside, make sure that we're keeping not only it looking nice, but keeping the UV damage to a minimum. So I have a couple things on this end. One of them is just going to be black streak remover. It's more of just a spot clean. It does work really nice. A lot of the rubber roofs in the bottom, they're going to be black, so you get black streaks that run down the side and just from dirt and everything else. So that's great for a quick spot clean. For something a little bit heavier duty, we essentially have an RV wash right here that you will want a brush of some sort, extendable brush. RVs are tall. So that will help, again, just kind of keep that exterior looking nice. Also, you want to make sure you protect the roof. That's a big one that a lot of people don't do. They miss that one, and then 5-6 years down the road, they have a problem. Their RV leaks. That's going to be the number one place for RV leaks is the roof. So make sure you protect that. You have a cleaner here as well as a roof guard, a protectant, and again, you'll want an RV brush. Make sure you follow the directions on that, just because they are pretty harsh chemicals and they can do some damage to the side of the RV if you don't protect it correctly. Microfiber cloths are always good to have on hand for cleaning, especially again if we're doing any kind of spot cleaning, you're going to want those. Then getting down a little bit further, again, kind of still on the exterior, let's talk a little bit about some of the seals. So you're going to want some kind of silicone seal for your windows. This will do a good job of just making sure that, again, helping to keep that water out. For the roof, you're going to want something a little bit different, and that's going to be a lap sealant. And essentially what the lap sealant does is when you put it on, it kind of self-leveling, it levels itself out. That's going to work a lot better for the roof. There are specific materials depending on what roof brand you have, so make sure you match that up. But again, that's something that, both of these you should look at least annually, possibly twice a year, just to make sure your seals are good. Next to that, we're going to have two different spray compounds here. One is going to be the slide out dry lube. This is going to be for if you have a slide for all of your slide mechanisms. This works really well just because it is a dry lube, so therefore it's not going to get like all the dirt and dust and everything else caking on it. So that works extremely well. Another one is going to be this one right here, which is the rubber seal conditioner. So on your slide outs, right, not only do you have the mechanism to make it go in and out, but on the sides you're going to have all your seals, whether that's a bulb seal or especially that flapper seal that's in there. You want to make sure you condition that. That flapper seal tends to move a lot, kind of in and out as the slide comes in and out. You don't want it to dry out and start cracking. You want to make sure that it stays nice and pliable. So that is what that one is for. Then we get into a little bit of the electrical side of things here. Replacement bulbs used to be a pretty big thing. You don't have to replace them near as often now thanks to LED lights, but it is still not a bad idea to have some on hand. Fuses, definitely recommend, especially if you're camping during busy season. Sometimes you'll get like power drops and things like that. You might get some low voltage. You're going to blow fuses. It's just kind of the reality of it. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you have some on hand so everything stays functioning. A couple other items here. One of them is going to be some kind of wire connectors. Again, with electrical work, we're going to need a lot of different tools, as I talked about. You can check some of those out in the other video. These are just twist-on wire connectors. Obviously, if you want crimp connectors, by all means do that. If you want heat shrink ones, you can do that too. Again, depending on if it's an indoor, outdoor application, how you're using it, just make sure you are using the proper connectors there, but you're definitely going to want them. Zip ties. Pretty self-explanatory there. They're great. Tie them together, fasten things up. Great for any kind of wire cable maintenance. And speaking of tying things down, that's where these two are going to come into play as well. So we have bungees. These can be great to use on like cabinet doors and things like that to keep them from opening up. We have our ratchet tie-down straps for things a little more heavy duty. Again, you're going down the road, things are going to move. Having these are just extremely helpful to stop stuff from moving. Or sometimes, if you have to disconnect something, you need it to hang, you can use the ratchet straps, works pretty good there. Coming over a little bit further, we get into just some different tapes that are good to have on hand. Duct tape can never go wrong with duct tape. Always good to have on hand, again, just for quick fixes. Electrical tape, again, going with the electrical. If you're doing any electrical work, you want to make sure that you tape it up. I have two different ones here. This is all going to depend on your comfortability. The blue one here is going to be a PTFE tape for any kind of plumbing. Most plumbing fittings in RVs these days are PEX. They're going to be crimp fittings, but if you are doing anything with threads, especially mainly metal threads where it's metal to metal, that's where you're going to want to do this. If it's plastic to plastic, you might not want to use it. It just depends. I know it's two different schools of thought. Some people say that it destroys the threads. Others say still use it. I'm not going to tell you either way, but again, definitely good to have on hand. If you're comfortable doing gas line work, if you're not, don't touch it. It's explosive. If you are, you do want to make sure that you have some gas tape on hand as well. And along with that, you're going to want some leak detector just to make sure that we don't have any leaks in there for obvious safety reasons. Another good one to have on hand is just some kind of super glue. This is pretty basic. I have some Gorilla Glue that I normally keep with me. If something breaks, whether it's something plastic, it's inside, it's easy to fix. You just need to glue it back together. Like maybe it's a plate for an electrical outlet or something. You just want to glue it back together and put it back on, whatever it may be. Always handy just to have a little super glue with you. Kind of coming up front here, a lighter, super basic here too. Depending on your cooktop or your oven, it may not have a spark igniter. You may have to use this or your water heater. Again, if it's not a DSI water heater, you're going to need a little bit of flame to be able to kick that on. So always a good idea to have that. In the front, this is going to be a little more motorhome centric. So if you have a motorhome, I do recommend at least having an extra quart of oil. Hopefully you're not leaking oil. If you are, you obviously want to make sure you get it in and get it checked out, but you also don't want damage on your way to the shop. So it's always a good idea to have an extra quart of oil on there. Same thing with windshield washer fluid. It's a big windshield. The last thing in the world you want is just to have this big clouded windshield. So definitely carry some of that on you. And that goes along with the windshield wiper here as well. A couple other last items are going to be right back here. I do recommend some gloves, whether it's nitrile gloves, for, if you're doing anything with like the plumbing system, especially wastewater, you definitely want to keep your hands clean. If you're doing anything that's involving a little more tools, you don't want to bust your knuckles. Again, some work gloves are great as well. For cleanup, shop rags, again, self-explanatory. Have them, you will love them. And this one definitely falls under tools. I should have had it in the last video, but I didn't, so I wanted to touch on it here, and that is a headlamp. I have used this thing more times than I can count, whether you're cutting into the underbelly and looking at something, if you're down in a cabinet. RV lighting generally is not great. And if you are down in a cabinet, it is hard to see. This right here will be a lifesaver. And that's pretty much it on the maintenance, folks. Again, protect the outside, protect your seals, a couple other items for some basic work. And if ever, it's something that you don't want to handle, whether that is cleaning the roof, whether that is checking your seals, you can always bring it into a Camping World location and they can do it for you. If you found this video helpful, make sure that you like and subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you.